Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. Today we are talking about a trio of new surveys that help tell the contemporary story of enterprise AI as it is deployed. The surveys come from PwC, Workday, and AI support and training consultancy Section. And part of the reason that I wanted to do this episode is not only that there is rich, interesting information in that data, but that the initial reporting around it has a very distinct slant, which while I don't think is wrong, I do believe is misleading in a way that could be dangerous. In short, the mainstream reporting around these surveys leads to a suggestion of AI underperformance. It contributes to a sensibility that AI is overhyped. The story that I think the data is actually telling is yet more evidence of the widening gap between leaders and laggards when it comes to AI adoption. And the implications of those two stories are very, very different. So let's talk about how the media, specifically the Wall Street Journal, summed up this story with their piece. CEOs say AI is making work more efficient. Employees tell a different story. And again, to be clear, none of the data that the Wall Street Journal here is focusing on is incorrect or even insignificant. Their first graph shows a statistic from the Section survey, who, for full disclosure, are a sponsor of this show right now, but who actually didn't even share the survey with me. I only found it when I saw this Wall Street Journal article. In any case, that survey was conducted around the same time as our AI ROI survey for AIDB, and surveyed 5,000 white-collar workers from companies with 1,000 people or more in the US, UK, and Canada, concentrated around October of last year. When asked how much time they think they personally are saving each week by using AI, the C-suite was saving a ton of time. 33% were saving 4 to 8 hours, a quarter were saving 8 to 12 hours, and almost a fifth were saving more than 12 hours a week. Meanwhile, among workers, only 2% were saving more than 12 hours per week, more than a quarter were saving less than 2 hours, and the largest category by far, 40%, said they were saving no time. A representative quote comes from North Carolina user experience designer Steve McGarvey, who said, "Executives automatically assume AI is going to be the savior. I can't count the number of times that I've sought a solution for a problem, asked an LLM, and it gave me a solution to an accessibility problem that was completely wrong." Which brings us to the Workday research. The headliner stat from that survey was that 37% of the time saved through AI is being set by rework. In the executive summary, they write, employees report spending significant time correcting, clarifying, or rewriting low-quality AI-generated content, essentially creating an AI tax on productivity. For every 10 hours of efficiency gained through AI, nearly 4 hours are lost to fixing its output. In other words, they say 1.5 weeks a year is being lost to fixing AI outputs per highly engaged employee. Another area of divergence between workers and executives had to do with anxiety around AI. For workers, the percentage who said they were anxious or overwhelmed versus excited was nearly a 70-30 split to the side of anxious. On the C-suite, the split went the other way, with more than 70% being excited, while less than 30% were anxious or overwhelmed. All of this leads to what can only be described as underperformance in terms of actual financial impact. They highlighted that in a new PwC survey of CEOs that was released to coincide with the WEF in Davos this week, just 12% of CEOs said AI had delivered both cost and revenue, while 56%, more than half of the nearly 4,500 CEOs polled, said they had seen no significant financial benefit so far. So like I said at the beginning, none of this is incorrect information, and all of it is interesting and important signal. My concern is that the way that it's being presented contributes to a sensibility that AI itself is underperforming and that AI itself is overhyped. The reason that matters is that it has the potential of changing the way that individuals and companies think about AI adoption. Put simply, some number of people are going to see this and feel like it perhaps takes them off the hook a bit. That, in other words, they were right to be skeptical, and that maybe they don't have to figure out where to carve out the time to learn how to use these new tools, because they're not all that good anyway. On an individual, to say nothing of a company level, this is not a winning strategy for adapting to the new world that has, in fact, already arrived. As I said at the beginning, my interpretation is a little bit different. I think that all of these studies are actually adding up to a story of a widening gap between leaders and laggards. Let's hone in and focus on the vanguard of companies. Those 12% right here who are seeing both an increase in revenue and a decrease in cost from AI, rather than focusing on this 56% number of CEOs who haven't seen a change in either revenue or cost, what makes these 12% different? Are they doing things that is different? And the short answer is absolutely yes. Those vanguard companies, that top 12% who are actually seeing double financial gains in terms of increased revenue and reduced cost, are 2.6 times more likely to have embedded AI into their core processes. 44% of those companies say that they are deploying AI to a large extent versus just 17%. PwC writes, Foundations matter as much as scale. CEOs whose organizations have established strong AI foundations, such as responsible AI frameworks and technology environments that enable enterprise-wide integration, are 3 times more likely to report meaningful financial returns. In other words, deeply integrating AI triples your likelihood of positive outcomes. This might be old hat for many of you who are here, but the glaring point that stands out from that is that this is a story of enterprise environment more than a story of AI capability. Now let's take a look at the section report, which is explicitly about AI proficiency. And once again, the headline stat here is not encouraging. By Section's metrics, just 3% of employees are using AI proficiently, as opposed to 97% who are either AI novices or AI experimenters. 40% say that they'd be fine never using AI again. But the story that actually emerges is that employees aren't being given the tools to succeed. 85% of the knowledge workers from Section's survey either had no work-related AI use cases or beginner level. 59% of the reported AI use cases were basic task assistance. Things like replacing Google search, drafting, editing, and summarizing documents. Only 2% of respondents have built any sort of automation, and only 3% of respondents said their most valuable use case was data analysis or code generation. Indeed, only 2% overall of use cases were judged to be advanced. In short, companies are not giving their employees tools to go beyond the most basic of use cases. They are instead dropping LLMs on top of their heads, in many cases based on enterprise deployments LLMs that are a generation or 2 behind, and telling them to make it work. And we do see organizations that are providing their employees tools having more proficient employees. Compared to a baseline employee across the whole study, employees that have access to tools have 1.5 times the proficiency of the baseline, which is the same as the multiplier for employees who report having a coherent company AI strategy. The multiplier is 1.6. And by far the biggest multiplier comes from employees whose managers explicitly expect AI usage, who are 2.6 times more AI proficient than the baseline employee in the study. Leadership expectation is the strongest catalyst. By signaling that AI is not core work, and although it's not captured in the study, my strong guess is providing time for people to actually learn and experiment with the tools outside of the bounds of their normal work, rather than expecting them to just figure out when to go do that exploration for themselves, leads to nearly 3x more proficiency than the baseline. Now, one of the things that shows up in the section report is also just this catastrophic divergence in the perception between the C-suite and individual contributors. This reminds me of a study from Writer back in December of 2024 that found, among other things, a 30-point gap between the number of C-suite executives who said that their company had a coherent AI strategy and the percentage of employees who thought so. That gap is actually even larger in this study. 81% of C-suite officers surveyed said that their company had clear AI policy compared to just 28% of individual contributors, a 53-point gap. The encouragement to experiment was 51% for C-suite versus just 20% for employees. Tool access was 80% for the C-suite versus 32% for employees. Training received was the widest divergence, with 81% of the C-suite reporting that they had been trained, and only 27% of individual contributors. What this means is that these challenges will not self-correct. The C-suite, by and large, at least from these studies, is not recognizing the problem. And on the same theme of the problem not fixing itself, we see reinvestment failure becoming a major bottleneck. This comes from that Workday study, which found that nearly 40% of AI time savings are lost to fixing AI output. When asked about how they reinvest their savings from AI into the organization, 39% goes into tech infrastructure versus just 30% into workforce development. And importantly, the numbers are even more dramatic for time savings allocation. 53% of reinvestment of the time saved goes into systems versus just 29% for people in workforce development. And to be clear, this doesn't appear to be a strategic determination that investment into systems is better than investment into people. 59% of leaders say that skills development is their priority, while just 30% of employees are experiencing that, a 29 percentage point gap. Zooming out, the Workday study starts to dramatize the leader-laggard gap when it comes to individual employees. They divide employee personas into 4 groups. The observers, who stand on the sidelines, not wasting time fixing but not generating value either. The misaligned middle, who are struggling to make tools work and find that the effort required to clean up output outweighs the benefits. The low-return optimists, who have high AI activity but also high rework. And the augmented strategists, who are seeing the highest net productivity gains. There are huge differences in the profiles of the augmented strategists compared to everyone else. 93% of the augmented strategists treat AI as a radar to spot patterns rather than a crutch. 71% are experienced professionals, 35 to 44. 57% report that their organizations have increased investment in team connection, which is way higher than the other categories. And the augmented strategists are 2 times as likely to have received substantial skills training. By contrast, the low-return optimists, who have high enthusiasm but also a high rework burden, report only 37% increased access to skills training, which is actually the lowest of any group. All of this reflects things that we found in our AI ROI benchmarking study as well. We found there to be statistically significant correlations between the diversity of AI use cases and how much ROI benefit companies were reporting. In other words, when companies had AI use cases that were not only for time or cost savings, but also for increasing output, increasing the quality of strategic decision-making, unlocking new capabilities. Basically, the larger the number of categories of ROI that use cases led to, the more overall benefit companies were seeing. We also saw that use cases that focused on strategic outcomes rather than just efficiency outcomes had higher net reports of ROI benefit. Ultimately, the story that these surveys tell is that companies who are investing deeply in putting proper AI foundations into place are seeing 2 to 3 times the benefit of everyone else. And because of the nature of these tools, those benefits are compounding. The more proficient with AI you get, the more likely to continue to get further ahead you are. The lens, then, to read these studies through is not AI overhyped, but instead the very real burden of infrastructure for AI adoption and the significant gains that come from it. Now, I know that many of you listeners are the folks inside your companies who are responsible for AI strategy and who are advocating for the sort of policies that we're very clearly seeing lead to better outcomes. Hopefully, some of these studies then can provide fodder for you to win more internal arguments. That is what I wish for you, but for now, that's going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching, as always, and until next time, peace.